Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Big Guy Fantasy Sports. And it's week one of the fantasy football season. Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Consistency Show. As always, Ron Rigney and I will be here every Wednesday night, somewhere in the evenings, 7, 8 o'clock. We don't do live. We're just not that good. We're not like
that
Robbie,
professional.
but we're so excited to kick off this year. I know Ron and Colby Conway and I have been holding down the fort at Big Guy Fantasy Sports for a number of years now. And, well, I'm getting old. They're getting younger, I think. And I need more people, and I need smart people that can help me push this site further and further. So I put out this quiet little request on Twitter, and Twitter blew up my DMs. And one of the guys that did that is the guy sitting here to my right, Pru Patel. Pru, welcome to the team. Welcome to Big Guy Fantasy Sports. You look a little small compared to most of us, so you're kind of pulling down the average weight here, I think, for the big guys here. But that's okay, because we know that you've got the big guy brain to help people get you through this season. So, Pru, welcome to the team. Tell us a little bit about it. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you got planned here at Big Guy Fantasy Sports this season.
Hey Bob, yeah, thanks for having me on the team, and yeah, I am definitely the outlier here, the Big Guy Fantasy Sport, in terms of size. But I am so excited to join the team. I always love consistency as a stat. Even when right before I was writing fantasy football content, consistency articles were my go-to on a week-to-week basis. So I am so thrilled to join the team here at Big Guy, and utilize the tools that you guys have developed in 2023 and help people win their leagues. Um, I believe in consistency, and I'm definitely looking forward to providing, start and sit or streaming options for folks that are, having a hard time deciding between players. Looking for those high floor players in a week, looking at their matchups and then looking at how they perform, you know, at home or versus bad or good defenses using all the tools here at Big Guy. So hopefully I'll have anywhere from 1 to 3 articles every Tuesday coming out to help with, waiver wire, and then we can kind of recirculate them for, Sunday morning game time decision making. I believe that identifying those high floor guys on a week to week basis to put into your streaming position or your flex position could win you that week.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you be a part of this, bringing out more, using more of the tools. And that's one thing that was very important to me with building this team, adding on to this team. The holy trinity here of me, Colby, and Ron have been holding down the fort for a long time. But I've always said to them, man, there's so many things that we can do with these tools, the forecaster, the historical consistency data. And you just mentioned some of the ideas you had with waiver wire pickups, with the forecaster and the start sits and various stuff like that. So, again, welcome to the team, Ron. Welcome as always back. It's good to have you back from sunny Florida as I sit here in beautiful sunny Canton, Ohio with my palm trees. How you been, man? No after effects, a little bit more north for this hurricane, but you probably went, yeah, I've been here, done that. We got this. So
Yeah, we got a
Ron,
couple
welcome
T-shirts
back.
from
How
it
you
too.
doing,
The
brother?
last couple of it, yeah, that was child's play compared to what we're used to down here. But no joke aside, I mean that was a serious thing for the big bend up there. We went through it last year, so my heart goes out to those people for sure. And way off in the Atlantic, we got another thing spinning out there, so we'll see what that does beginning in next week. It's never dull down here between the animals that are down here that you see on Jumanji, between the storms we got to fight through. It's never a dull moment, and plus it's all
Locusts,
while you're on the
frogs.
surface of the sun and it's 120,000 degrees. But
Yeah,
other than that, we got week 1 football tomorrow. I don't know about you guys, but I think this is a great matchup. I don't think you could have kicked the season off any better. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got the champs, and then you got my guy, head coach MCDC, ready to just take off in Detroit. And I'm anxious to see what Detroit looks like this season with the new pieces they've got for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Now we've got the Kelsey news. Is he playing? Is he not? I said to the guys at work, so some of the guys at work are kind of into fantasy football, so we chat quite a bit. And, they were yelling at me yesterday about Kelsey. And I'm like, I knew 2 hours ahead of time. They're very slow. But I said, boy, any poor bastard that drafted, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, and Travis Kelsey. And I've just been, kind of chuckling, but feeling bad for the poor guys that showed their Scott Fishbowl drafts in the first 3 rounds. They picked all 3 of them. That's a tough start, guys. but we're here. We're here to help others, as we always are, to kind of share our consistency knowledge. And guys, as we kick off this week 1 preview, I thought maybe we would go to each position. Maybe 1, 2, or all 3 of us share maybe somebody. We all know the big boys. We know Mahomes will do well. That kind of stuff. But are there some other guys that maybe you guys kind of favor? Maybe you drafted them in a lot of leagues. Maybe you have them starting because you're kind of concerned about maybe you waited on quarterbacks. Maybe you got a tougher decision. But so Ron, I'll start with you. Who's a quarterback that you kind of feel comfortable with this week, whether it's DFS, start in your regular league, that you kind of all in, at least for this week, as a pretty good matchup heading into week 1?
Look, I mentioned it before. Fired up for tomorrow's matchup, and I think, not to say that I think Patrick Mahomes could always be the answer to this every week that he plays, especially if Kelsey's there. But Kelsey's not there, so we're not to say that you can't start him. Still probably going to get some stats, but I'm going with the other quarterback in that game, and that's Jared Goff. We saw what they were able to do last year on offense. Jared Goff looked like a different quarterback. Amon-Ra St. Brown has taken that step, and I think he takes even another step this season. I think if he stays healthy, 100 catches is going to be a definite possibility. He's going to get in the end zone. They've got Jameson Williams coming on later, but right now, just based upon, I think, just the hype, they're going to be fired up. Like I mentioned my boy Dan Campbell earlier. He fires them up like no other, especially playing in Detroit. I think it's just going to be that, and the defenses might have those first night jitters. I think they're going to come out. I think they're going to look super sharp. They've got weapons out of the backfield. And I think Jared Goff, if you play the Thursday night DFS, I know I got a free entry for one where you got to go with just guys from tonight or tomorrow night. I got Jared Goff in there. I think the yards are going to be there as long as he can limit the turnovers. Kansas City was not. They were towards the bottom of the league against a pass last year. Chris Jones is not in there, so they might want to run it a little bit. I still think there's enough left on the bone for Jared Goff to give you something. The other guy I want to point out real quick, I won't go too deep into it because a lot of people are probably going to pivot away from this, but Russell Wilson. Can he be any worse than he was last year? They got Vegas right out of the gate. They've got weapons. He's got Sean Payton. I think especially for DFS, if you're talking about contrarian, I think that could be a way to go there as well.
Gotcha. Pru, who's a quarterback that you're kind of favoring heading into this week?
Yeah, in DFS or another twist to that, like one and done leagues where it's sort of like a player survival, I'm going to hedging my bet on Justin Herbert. I think it's a sneaky game against the Miami Dolphins. I think that could be a shootout. I know the Chargers gave Tua a hard time last year, but I think Mike McDaniel learns from that and game plans for the Chargers defense a little bit better this time around, making the Chargers kind of put the gas pedal down. So I think Herbert with the new offense at home on the opener is going to be a really good play.
No, definitely like that one. Of course, Ron knows me, and Ron knows that I drafted Justin Herbert by any league I could get a hold of him. I had a few that I ended up with, maybe like a Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes, but more often than not, Justin Herbert is on a lot of my teams. I'm going to go even crazier here. So, our forecaster that we have on our website, you can go there and download a position and look at each week and how, who they're going to play, and then whether it's home or away, and then top 10, bottom 10, good, bad, or average defense. One of the ones that popped up for me in week 1 as I was looking at the quarterbacks was one Daniel Jones. He's playing away against an average defense. Dallas, they have some good players, but, if you stay away from the Trayvon Diggs and those kind of players, you can do pretty well. And Daniel Jones is a perfect 6 for 6, 100% consistent, 23.68 fantasy points a game. I don't think this is a bad option. I mean, He could run more. He's got a lot of whatever we want to call them, wide receivers. I'm not sure you call them good, bad, indifferent, just
They're
wide
there.
receivers. They're there. You don't know who's going to shine, but Daniel Jones has really good legs and he can make things happen. And he proved that last year when, he won some playoff games in that realm. So I like him, quite a bit this week as well. Kind of in, 2-quarterback league kind of thing, Now I'm not gonna start him over Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or anything crazy like that. But if you're, and I do like Russell Wilson too. In fact, I was going to say he was 4 for 4 in home against bad defenses historically as well. So definitely I'm on that one. And like I said, Justin Herbert also 6 for 6 playing at home against bad defenses. So definitely support all three of those. All right, let's move on to the running back position. So Pru, we'll start with you. Who's a running back you kind of digging?
I think a lot of people are down on Najee Harris. I know recently, as of last week, Jalen Warren was trending on Twitter. But I think I'm already high on the Steelers, even though I'm a Ravens fan this year. I think Mike Tomlin's a really really good coach, and he knows what he's doing. And if he trusts Kenny Pickett to give him the continue his development into year 2. I think the beneficiary out of that is going to be Najee Harris, who's gonna see some good touchdown progression this year, and I think it starts off this week. He's a volume guy, and he's consistently always getting volume. So I think last year was sort of an outlier with the whole Steelers defense, offense. So I'm playing Najee Harris.
Nice. Ron, what about you? Who's the guy that you're kind of digging on this week?
Love me some Najee Harris. So those aforementioned people you were talking about that are down on him, this is not one of them.
No, I'm not one of them either.
One of my horses in the Kings Classic. So when we're looking at these running backs, there's a couple different ways that you can go, but I think my favorite play this week is going to be Aaron Jones against that Bears defense. Bob, we love. Oh yes, I knew it.
Guy.
We love this guy on this show, and we have for a couple years, man. And he gets it done. Catches the ball in the backfield, 72 grabs last year, and that's with Aaron Rodgers. I feel like with that receiving core, without that lack of a consistent option at tight end yet, Luke Musgrave might be the guy, but we know how rookie tight ends go, and we know how they go as far as consistency. They are not consistent. So he's going to have to throw the ball somewhere. We know that Jordan Love can extend plays, but I feel like if the Packers want to be successful this season, they've got the defense. They've got to get something out of those wide receivers, but they go as Aaron Jones goes, and I think it goes ahead and starts tonight. I think you'll see A.J. Dillon grind it out, but those big plays are going to be in there for Aaron Jones. So I'm expecting a big night or a big day through the air. The Bears were second worst against a running back as far as fantasy points last year. I haven't seen that defense get much better. In fact, they even shipped Roquan Smith out of town. So I think that the stats are there again. So anytime that Aaron Jones is going against the Bears, whether it's week 1 or week whatever it is, he's going to be in that lineup.
Yeah, I just pulled up the forecaster for Aaron Jones playing against, in that game scenario. And yeah, 5 out of 6, 83% consistent. So definitely supporting that, which I had all teed up, but you swooped in and got me. But that's okay. That's all right. That's what we're here for. That's why I can adjust. I have a forecaster that I can go to live and on the fly. You can figure that out. You're
like Peyton Manning at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I yelled Omaha, and I brought up Cam. So I yelled Omaha, and I brought up Cam Akers. Cam Akers this week playing against Seattle. If you guys remember from last year, Seattle and Houston was an automatic start for your running backs every single week. That hasn't changed much. And Seattle is going to be just as bad. And let's be honest, with Kupp down, with Cooper Kupp already determined out, and you got Van Jefferson, they're going to need to run the ball and run the ball often. And Seattle is the kind of team you can do that against. Going away on the road against bad defenses. Cam Akers, 30.34. Now it's only 2 games, but 30.34 fantasy points per game in those 2 games, 100% consistent. I'm almost guaranteeing one of those was probably against Seattle last year as well. So that's my guy going into this week. All right, let's head to the wide receiver position. And Ron, we're going to go back to you to kick us off. Who do you got? I'm assuming it's not Cooper Kupp.
It's definitely not Cooper Cup. I'm very glad to say this is the first year that I probably have 0 shares of Cooper Cup, and I could not
Me
be
too.
more ecstatic about that. A couple ways you could go here, depending on, if you're looking at it from a DFS standpoint, you get a little cheaper if you want to go down a little bit. But the guy I'm going to point out is Chris Olave versus Tennessee. Tennessee dead last against wide receivers in fantasy coming off last year. Chris Olave, that Ohio State wide receiver factory, the Ohio State University just churns them out, and he's another one. I mean, the guy's insane, and we saw what he could do last year. Derek Carr, we saw the pictures in training camp of a more beefed up Derek Carr working on the guns a little bit. He's going to be getting the passes out there because he's going to have to. Don't know what we're getting out of Michael Thomas, although the matchup is nice cheap option there if you want to just throw. You need a bye week fill in already if you have Cooper Cup. Maybe not, but I'm thinking Chris Olave is the guy. I'm expecting a lot, especially in PPR leagues, out of Chris Olave this year, taking that next step.
All right, Pru, who do you got teed up for that one?
I've got DK Metcalf. I think he's a little bit under the radar. JSN is getting a lot of hype through the preseason. And I think, playing in DFS or whatnot, I think he's primed to show out on week 1. I quickly did a Bob and did a quick search on your forecaster. It looked like he had 100% consistency rating this week. So I'm definitely high on DK Metcalf, especially to start the season. I think JSN and Tyler Lockett will have boom bust weeks as they compete with each other until there's a better flow. But I think DK Metcalf is the one that benefits with having both Lockett and JSN there, especially week 1, knowing that he's already produced in this situation before.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, definitely great pick there. I was torn here, so I'm torn between basically Calvin Ridley starting off this week against Indy and Cortland Sutton because no Jerry Jeudy. You already aforementioned the Russell Wilson and the bad Raiders pass defense. I feel like both of them have potential. Ridley hasn't played in a year and a half, but he has been killing it. For those who remember that I drive during Hall of Fame weekend, I ran into a new friend of mine named Brandon McManus, who's the kicker for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I said, how's camp going? And he goes, everything they've said about Calvin Ridley is a lie. He's 10 times better. I said, okay. He goes, I've never seen a wide receiver be so just fluid. He goes, it just makes it look so easy. And he goes, he's doing things that every other wide receiver is going, oh, shit. He goes, it's going to be crazy how good he's going to be with this offense this year. And I can't wait. I've got him in a lot of leagues. I was drafting him long before I talked to McManus. He just made me feel that much better about it, but definitely excited about that one there. So, all right, as always, we come to the ever exciting and ever frustrating tight ends of our world. We've already got Hawkinson's hurt, Kittle's hurt. Isn't Andrews hurt too? I think.
Yep. He might as well be.
Yeah, he might as well be. And right as of right now, at this moment, Darren Waller is not hurt. But are there any tight ends left that you guys feel comfortable about going into this week? If you don't have one of those 4 guys on your team and you're starting to panic already. So Pru, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the one guy that makes a lot of sense right now is Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp is hurt, and he's
I didn't even try to look at Tyler Higbee. I knew either Ron or you would. One of the two.
You're right.
Yep.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, so
1,000% behind you.
Yep. Great minds think alike, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think Higbee's going to be the play for a lot of people this year because it's a high floor guy, especially in DFS with a lot of people injured. They know that Stafford likes Higbee as a security blanket, especially with Cooper Kupp out. So I'm definitely playing Higbee week 1.
Yep. No arguments from any of us. Ron, who's your guy?
Who's my Omaha guy? Because that was
your Omaha guy, yeah.
That was the guy that was the guy that I was going to take. And Bob, I was getting ready to apologize to you because I knew you would have him.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, like
you love
I almost went first
just
so I could take him.
Yeah. So
okay.
I backed out of that. So I just looked up my second guy. You mentioned Hawkinson. Hawkinson is not listed on the week 1 injury report, so it looks like Hawkinson's full go.
Okay.
That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's going to get a ton of attention. I think that might open some things up. Even though Tampa Bay has some fast linebackers, I still feel like Hawk's one of the best to do it. He got that big extension for a reason. It looks like he's fully healthy. I'm not banking on a ton of grabs, but I'm thinking maybe I can get maybe 6 for 60 and maybe get in the end zone at least once, maybe twice if Justin Jefferson's drawing all that attention. But I was happy to see that my guy, because I do a quick search here real quick to make sure he wasn't on the injury report, and he is not. So Hawk is going to be my guy. However, I'm thinking DFS. I'm going Higbeast all the way.
Yeah, as I say, I mean, there's been so much talk of some of the guys like Noah Gray, putting him in because he's like, I forget, 4,200 or something ridiculously cheap. My guys, because I drafted him in every league, and you guys took all the ones that I was going to take. But I'm going to go with my boy that I have in every team, and that's Dallas Goedert. Playing away against an average defense. He's playing on the road against New England. 71% consistent, 12.5 fantasy points. I'm not expecting a huge day. I just feel like Philadelphia will kind of control this game. I mean, New England just isn't what they used to be. And I don't see this being a shootout. I don't see this being anything crazy like that. We all know Belichick tries his best to take away the best players, 1 or 2 of the best players from a team. Problem is there's a lot of good players on that team. So, if he takes out whoever, I don't think he's going to be focusing on Goddard. So I think Goddard could have a really nice day. And like you said, maybe it's a 6 for 60 and a touchdown, gives him 18 points. I'm good with that. But definitely like that. I think there's a lot of good tight ends out there this week that, we may see more depth. I know Ron and I have been talking about this for years. I think was it 3 years ago was the 1 year that we actually had 16 or 18 tight ends.
It was about 3 years ago. I think it was when the 1 year in the last 6 that we've had where we didn't want to throw up a little bit when we get ready to talk about tight ends. Right. There was 1 year in there we were actually good with it.
Yeah, I think it was. I know it wasn't last year, and I don't think it was the year before.
I think you're right.
I want to say it was like 3 years ago, where you actually had some decent consistency and depth, and we kind of went into the next year thinking, oh, well, these guys will continue that growth, and we'll have a little bit more depth to choose from, and it just went to crap, and basically it was either Andrews or Kelsey, and I don't even know if Kittle was even maybe Waller, but again, with usually with those guys, they get hurt so quickly and so often that. They'll have 2 or 3 good games and then boom, they're injured and out they go. So, we'll see what happens with some of these guys this year. I mean, Dalton Schultz is getting a lot of love because there isn't much for them to throw to in Houston. Gerald Everett, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, Chiggy, still a lot of love for Irv Smith out there. What I keep hearing, I have him as my backup in most leagues, but I'm okay with that. But anyway, there's just a lot of tight ends out there, but it's all just you just pray that they catch a touchdown and maybe get 10, 12 points, but it's easier said than done. That's for sure. So, all right, well, guys, great job. We pound this out in about 25 minutes, which is great, we're really excited to have Pru as a part of the team. I know we'll be looking into, what he's coming up with later this week and every week. And so once again, guys, I'll let you, Pru, I'll let you go first. I see you already have your tag on there for Twitter, but tell everybody where they can find you and when they should expect your articles coming up.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see, follow me on Twitter at the Pru Patel, and I'll be releasing articles out starting this week. For the first one for big guys, will drop on Tuesday once we kind of get week 1 under wraps. So I'm hoping to dive in and then start writing on Monday, and then every Tuesday you'll see articles from me at the Big Guy Fantasy Football.
Perfect. Thanks again. Welcome aboard, Ron. Tell everybody what exciting things we always have planned for the weekend for everybody.
Yeah, so on Twitter, on whatever you call it nowadays, at Ron Rigney, easy to find. We're gearing up for the DFS season. We're gearing up for consistently cashing. I haven't heard the song in a while. the Profit Like It's Hot. I'm waiting for that stuff, man.
Yes,
that's a good one.
So excited for that.
It's a banger. Hey, you hear it everywhere. It's going platinum. Just check us out there. Check us out, BigGuyFantasySports.com. Got a lot of new friends that we're going to introduce you to over the course of the season, not just Pru and the great things that he's doing and the stuff that we've already got going on. Catch us there. Good luck in week 1. Bob, you told me you were going to Home Depot earlier. I didn't know you were going to get palm trees for landscaping.
Yeah,
by the way, it looks amazing.
It'll look great when it snows. It'll be fantastic. All right. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Bob_Lung. As Ron said, we will be here. Profit Like It's Hot coming out on Friday and Saturday with the podcast. And like I said, Ron and Colby will doing consistently cashing on this weekend as well. Ron and I will be here every Wednesday. We will have my article will drop on probably Wednesday as well. But it's going to be a great season. We got Rumboy Robbie joining us this year. We got Steven Gonzalez joining us. We have Dan Turner's going to be doing. I'm really excited about this one. So Dan Turner is going to do something I've been wanting to do for years, and in my head, it really sounds fun. And when I told him at first, he's kind of like, "Well, would you have an idea?" He had an idea. I think he wanted to do something similar to one of the other guys. I said, "I've got this idea, and if you don't like it, that's fine." And it's called the 1 Week Wonders. And we've talked about this one, Ron, if you remember. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to track every 1 week wonder through the season. So I said at the end of every week, we're going to take one at each position who made like a top 10 or top 15 finish and put them on the sheet, put how many points they got that week, and then track their points afterwards and see how many clutch games they actually pull off. And show what I want to show is, once we really get moving this down through the year, is how many players who were 1 week wonders held up any consistency whatsoever to show people. And what I've always in my mind have thought is that they don't do anything. Every once in a while, there'll be one guy that, comes through, and puts together maybe even a half a season wouldn't be terrible. But a lot of the times these guys pop off 20, 25-point weeks and you never see them again. They either don't play or they just, fall off the face of the earth, whatever the case may be. And I just feel like there was something I wanted to track. So he's going to track it for us and do that on Mondays because he can kind of do it right after the weekend. And then if there's a Monday night one, we'll add it in later. But
I really feel like for that, at the end of the season, we should hand out the Frisman Jackson Award. If you don't know who Frisman Jackson is, look up Frisman Jackson, Cleveland Browns. Probably my favorite 1 week wonder name there ever was. Big week 1, and then rode off into the sunset, never to be heard from again.
Yeah, I got one too. So my favorite is Brian Hartline.
Yes.
And the only reason I bring it up is one, because Brian Hartline is from Canton, Ohio, and played high school football here. And is very well known in the Canton area. Now he's also the wide receiver coach for the Ohio State Buckeyes currently. But he had like a 35-point week where he caught like 3 touchdowns and never heard from him again. And just because he's a Canton boy, he's my so maybe we'll call it the Brian Hartline Frisman Jackson award or something at the end of the year for each week. But anyway, so hey guys, thanks again for being a part of this. Everybody out there, thank you again for listening. As always, we'll be back every week. Boy, make sure you keep an eye on Big Guy Fantasy Sports. If you're not a subscriber, do that. Get at least the emails going, but you're going to want to subscribe. You're not going to want to miss these folks. All of this stuff will be behind the subscription paywall. It's only $20 for the whole year. You're not going to miss. You don't want to miss out on that. So for Pru, that guy. Ron, I went break dead. And I'm Bob. Hey, what do you know? Everybody have a great week. Take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.